Hey everybody, it's Dan Manson. Thank you for tuning in to my second episode. I realized after the first episode that it was over 20 minutes, so I do have a timer going now because my intention is to keep these between like 10 and 15 minutes, in that range. This one may be a little bit hard because I'm going to talk about the origin of Elevate. What is Elevate? How did it come about? And it is an interesting story, one of which I will try to go into here. Elevate was born of about a group of people who were running treatment and were doing methods that were other people's methods that wasn't a property that we owned or anything. We were just delivering another program in our facilities. And long story short, we came to a disagreement with that other party, and I'm not going to go into it any longer than that for various reasons. But here were a bunch of us young, rascals who'd been doing treatment for a long time, and we probably had 300 years of experience between us in the room. Several people who've worked with me for 20 years, 15 years, 10 years. I had over 20 years, as did Angie. So we had all this rehab IQ, for lack of a better term. We thought, we wanted to break away and do what we wanted to do and treat people the way we felt we could treat them without any limitations. So how do we do that? Well, we have to sit around the room and come up with things that we've seen work in all of our years of experience. And how did it work? And what did we do? And can we compile that? And can we create a procedure for that? Realize this is not like a 12-step method. This is not something published. We dove into cognitive behavioral therapy because we found that to be very effective. Many people find cognitive behavioral therapy very effective in treating addiction. And we resonated with that the most. And we dove into that and researched all these different methods. And what I mean by that is sort of like, okay, cognitive behavioral therapy is a lot of things. But when you have 10 people in a room and you're doing a group session, what do you do? Right? Exactly. What exactly do you do? Can that be codified? And a lot of treatment centers, they sort of have a clinician, a counselor or whatever, and he just does his magic. He just goes in and he does his session, and that's the session. And he has his credential and you can bill for it, and that's that. I think more systematically, and I wanted to know, no, I don't want just anybody to go in and wing it. I want them to be delivering the same thing every time, not necessarily robotically. They can put their own spin on it, their own personality, their own whatever, but these are the things that need to be covered, and it has to be done in this way. I didn't want there to be room for error. We wanted to be able to really measure this as a program, and we decided we were going to create this program based on all the things that we could think of that were successful, and then turn around and codify that into a curriculum, and then test it. And if it tested well and it worked well, my vision was to then copyright it and have a piece of intellectual property and call it the Elevate method, which is something that doesn't happen very often in this industry, where a new method comes about. I think, of all the 13,000 rehabs there are in America, I think probably 98% use the 12-step method. So, which is fine. I mean, that is a method that has worked for a lot of people, but we were creating our own method. We were sort of pioneering in a new space. So we got together, and it took months and months and months of compiling and speaking to people and talking to PhDs, guys that have been doing this for 40 years, and how did you do it differently? What happened? It was really just, I mean, if I go back and think about it, it's kind of amazing. It was really just a meeting of the minds and deciding what we felt resonated with us as a group, right? If someone said, hey, I think this is good, and the rest of them said, oh, I don't really like that, we threw it out. So it was something that we all agreed could be effective. And I had some amazing, unbelievable staff that helped compile this. I mean, truthfully, I was involved, but I was not doing the heavy lifting. I was sort of more like editing, sort of saying, yeah, I think we should go in this direction. And then guys would go off and do a bunch of work and come back and bring it to me or to review, and I'd say, okay, I like this, I don't like this. But boy, these guys did some tremendous work. One guy named Tots at my facility was a very, very involved in the curriculum end of it, gathering information. His wife, Jera, also heavily involved, very sharp lady, who unfortunately is no longer with us. She's not, I don't mean that she's gone. She moved on. She moved into another career path, which is great, no problem. She was very sharp, bright. Between her and Tots, they were doing an excellent job kind of compiling curriculum, and several of us were going through it together. Matt, actually, and I'm not saying their last names because I just want to protect their identity a little bit, although if you are familiar with Elevate, you would know who these people are. Matt was the one who came up with the name Elevate. It wasn't me. It wasn't Angie. Matt came up with the name Elevate. We were throwing around a bunch of names on the table, spitballing all kinds of stuff. And I was like, Elevate, that's a great name. What a perfect name. Like, elevate, you're rising up, right? Like, elevating your life. I was like, it has to be, someone else has to be doing this. It's got to be copyrighted or whatever, trademarked. And I went on the internet, did some searching. No, there was not, believe it or not, there was not an Elevate in the addiction treatment field at that time. And I was like, holy cow, we can do this. Okay, so I was familiar with trademarks and first use and all that kind of stuff. And so I immediately applied for a trademark, and we immediately put up content online to show that we are Elevate. This is what we're trying to do. And it was, and since then we've had to defend ourselves several times for our name, because many other treatment centers have popped up who've tried to call themselves Elevate. And unfortunately, we've had to send them those nasty cease and desist letters, which I feel bad about, because I don't think that these people are intentionally trying to do anything to harm us. But, we have to protect our name. We own it. We've, done all the work to trademark it and copyright our methods and all this kind of stuff. It's our intellectual property. I mean, go try to open up a computer store and call it Apple Computer Stores, and see what happens. Or, Google software services, it's just how it goes. We have to protect our name. I just threw that out there because we've been dealing with that a little bit. Anyway, Matt was the one that came up with it, so credit to him. And the rest of the team rallied just behind it. I sort of brought the main people in the company together. We call them Team One. That's like the managers of the company. And said, hey guys, this is our vision. This is our goal. This is what we want to do. We were running another program at the time, and they were like, well, how will that work? And I said, we're just going to have to flip the switch at some point. We can't empty all of our facilities and then start all over. We would not survive financially to be able to do that. We're just going to have to be open and honest and tell everybody what's happening. And they like, okay, wow. And Chris, who still works for me at Elevate, and I got to work on the website, and we were working crazy long hours and just putting together a website of all the stuff that we've created, and boom, it just happened. We told everybody who was in the program, like, hey guys, heads up, the program that if you're in here now, you purchased one program and you did that, and we're going to deliver that program to you to the best of our abilities. But we are, as a company, moving in another direction. We've created another method. We don't know if it's going to work or not. It's called Elevate. And new people are going to be coming in from now on that are going to be doing the Elevate program. So, you're going to have to be cool with them. They're doing a different program. I mean, you may be your roommate. And everyone was really great because we just told them what was going on. We just said, this is the direction we're going, and we don't know. We're sort of venturing into this, unknown, uncharted waters, but we're going to try it. And I think all the clients said, okay, as long as I got what I paid for and, I don't get screwed, I'm good. And it was actually this kind of exciting time because several people were like, oh, that's really interesting. And, there were similarities and stuff like that. But the culture of the company and the clientele and the camaraderie was really great. We didn't really have any issues, which was, really surprising when I look back. And I remember, when we launched Elevate, it was like, wow, it was sort of like sitting on pins and needles waiting to see what would happen. And Mike, who's still with me today, said, hey, here's our first Elevate client, Danielle. And I said, okay, great. And here we go. We're going to see how this goes. And then more people started to come in on the back of it. I just remember Danielle because she was the first, because it was sort of like, your baby as the company. And we were watching on pins and needles, how is this new method going to work? Are these people going to resonate with it? Is it going to be good? Are they going to say, what are you guys doing? I wanted this other program or 12-step or whatever. And they just embraced it. I mean, they didn't know any better. They were coming in detoxing and just saying, what do I do now? And we were telling them. And even the staff were saying, this is what we're doing. And I don't know that group of people knew. Well, they had to have known because of what was happening, but they were doing it for the first times. That I think they probably essentially felt like guinea pigs a little bit, but I think they realized that we were passionate about it and we had put a lot of work into it, and we really, really believed that this could work, and it did. And it's. 7 years later, I think maybe 8 years later at this point, and Danielle is, from all accounts, is doing well. And obviously since her, there's been a lot of people who have done, many have done well, some have not, or whatever. But our results have been really, really good. And we committed to financially and operationally tracking our outcomes using a third-party outcome company, which I'll talk more about in a later episode. And we were getting amazing results and really, getting feedback like, what are you guys doing? Like, you guys are doing something that's really interesting, and we're seeing that the results are good. And that was so, exciting and validating for us for all of that work. We essentially, just a group of people, we did not hire an outside professional. We did not hire consulting firms. We did not hire experts. We just got in a room and did it ourselves and threw it against the wall and went through and codified everything and took the things that we could find that would work: cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, rational emotive behavioral therapy, motivational interviewing, all these things that you may not know what they are, but we kind of took all these things that we felt was workable and put it into a system, put it into a curriculum. We incorporated exercise because we realized that it's not just sitting around in a chair. You got to move your body. You got to involve your body. Your body and your mind are not separate things. They are the same thing, right? They work together. They're interdependent, not independent. And we started to incorporate that. So having physical exercise while doing group therapy in a way that's positive and not shaming people, not judging people, not blaming people, and having one-on-one therapy and having them do workbook exercises where they're realizing for themselves where they went wrong. No one's telling them what to do. We wanted to make sure, above all else, that we had a positive treatment experience. No one is yelling at them. No one's telling them they're doing wrong or whatever. Like, we may have to guide them, but we're not telling them they're a victim. You have addiction. You are a slave to these substances. You need medications, and you need to just move forward and do what we say, and this is how it is. No. People that come in, they may feel like victims right now. They're not victims. They can lift themselves up and they can overcome these issues just like anything else. They are not a slave. They do not have to accept that label that they are an addict. They don't have to stand up and say, I am an addict. They can say, okay, well, I've made mistakes. Who hasn't, right? Let's move forward. And that was really refreshing to our clients, and still is refreshing to our clients. We hear all the time at graduations, I've been to 8 programs, I've been to 12 programs, I've been to some of the most expensive programs in Malibu, and I got more out of Elevate in a week than I got out of that whole program. I'm not trying to bash other programs. I'm just saying our method is different, our method is unique, and it was born out of the fire of a bunch of people, that just decided we were going to brainstorm and see what worked. And I just want to credit Angie, Tots, Matt, Jared, Chris, Dana, Mike, everybody. I don't want to leave anybody out, but the people that were intimately involved with the actual creation of that moment. I mentioned, and Nate, and we just, I know I'm forgetting people, and I'm really, really sorry, but we just threw everything at the wall and stuck with it. Billy, Billy was instrumental in HR, and John, obviously, and I don't know, we all just came together. Mason, Dylan, we came together. Leslie, Jesse, we came together as a group, and we pulled off something pretty amazing. And I'm really proud of everybody. And it's my goal not just to grow Elevate as a company, buy more facilities and things like that, which I'd like to do. Of course, we want to grow. But I also want the Elevate method to get out there. I would love for other rehab centers to incorporate the Elevate method. I'm working along those lines because I believe it's something incredible we put together, and I want to share with the world. And here I am. I'm over 15 minutes, so I'm going to wrap it up. That's how Elevate started. That's the real, true story. Believe it or not, that's how it happened.